Hey, what's going on, guys? Jack Reeve from TalkNorwichCity here. It's a big game this weekend. We're coming off the back of a fantastic win. It's Chelsea at Carrow Road. It's the early kickoff, and I'm delighted to welcome Dan Childs from Son of Chelsea. Dan, first of all, mate, how are you?
I'm good. It's a pleasure to be on the channel. Pleasure to be on a channel that I think is making some really good content. So it's a privilege to be here and to talk about the game at the weekend.
Thanks, mate. No, I really appreciate that. Let's get into Chelsea straight away. It's been an indifferent start, I'll say, for you, and I think that was probably expected. As Norwich fans, we saw a lot of Mason Mount, Tammy Abraham last season. Of course, we saw Frank Lampard managing at Carrow Road. So I know it's very early doors, but what have you made of this Chelsea side so far?
I think you've got to look at the bigger picture with Lampard, in my opinion. I think that's what this season is all about. I think for too long, patience has been a myth at Stamford Bridge. And I feel like the transfer ban on sort of a wider point, I think is a blessing in disguise, in my opinion. I think we talk a lot about culture at clubs, and I think this is a chance for Chelsea to change the culture of the club into one that is more patient, that is about a longer term project. Now, I'm sure Norwich fans watching this will look at me and say I'm crazy because our number of managers is as quick and as frequent as the latest tube train. So it's hard to argue that point without real evidence. But I do believe that Lampard, because of his association with the club, our greatest ever player, and I think this is going to be a team that I've already seen early signs is going to be a very lovable team, a team that Chelsea fans will fall in love with. Now, I wanted to see Sarri succeed, but it was quite clear that there was a divide there, and I think that hopefully, to think, in my opinion, even though it was a difficult, challenging opening week, the fact that we haven't won a game and no one is throwing their toys out the pram, I think shows that there is going to be that patience and understanding of the hurdles that Lampard has. And I do believe, as I said, I think it's going to be a blessing in disguise. But yeah, losing 4-0, it's not nice. And losing on penalties to Liverpool and of course, losing the lead against Leicester and in a game I thought we were actually quite lucky to probably get a point in the end. But it's about taking the positives. It's about looking at the bigger picture and looking at what is Lampard trying to develop here. The fact that Mason Mount is now starting and scoring for Chelsea is just a wonderful thing. So I think for me, it's the bigger picture and being patient with Chelsea this season, in my opinion.
It sounds as if you're being very realistic considering the circumstances of the club. What were your expectations? What do you want to see from this football club at the end of the season? Is it top four? Is it top six? What is it?
It's very hard. I mean, I did a prediction video on my channel when I just sort of said fifth, because I was just sort of like, I'd like to think we've still got quality within the squad. The thing that I think people forget about Chelsea, and you saw this in the Super Cup, there are experienced players, winners within the team, and I think there's a winning mentality still within there. So we've got N'Golo Kante in our team, and you could probably answer a lot of questions with the answer of N'Golo Kante when you're talking about Chelsea. He's just such an outstanding midfielder. But I think for me, it's about developing young players. It's about changing the system. It's about Lampard having a season where he can, a bit like how I thought Sarri was going to go, where it's embedding a style, it's modernising our play a bit more. It's about fans being patient, and as I said in my first answer, looking at the bigger picture, looking at the culture of the club. We have for far too long been I think we are a victim of our own success in some cases. We have our level of reaching finals, winning trophies has been outstanding, but I think the victim and the sort of the downside of that is that the expectation level at Chelsea is, I even saw people last season thinking that Sarri should have been challenging for the title. Now, I don't think the majority of fans would have said that, but the fact that there is still that culture within there, I think needs to change, because the league has changed. Manchester City now, Liverpool, Tottenham, the top, whether you think the top six is real or not, it's the level of competition from 10 years ago or even 5 years ago to now is so much different. So I just hope that with this season, Lampard is able to be given the time, given the patience, given the backing to embed his style of play, bring in new young players, and finally bear the fruits of what has been a good Chelsea academy and bring through a load of young players. It's ridiculous to me that we could literally go from a situation of almost having no young players in our starting 11 to about 5 or 6. which is a radical change, but something Lampard can oversee. And I think all of those players that I could mention, I think all deserve a place in the starting 11. So that's I'm much more about, I think we can have some great memories this season. I'm not putting Lampard under pressure to win a trophy. I'm not putting him under pressure to get into the top 4. All of those things are a bonus. Of course, I still expect us to. I think we are good enough to be in the top 6, and anything above that. If he gets top 4, I think he's done an incredible job. I really do. But to me, it's about it's a rebuilding process once again, and my hope is that across the board we understand that and give him the time that I think he needs.
Is there pressure on Chelsea this weekend? Because it's been a tough opening set of fixtures for you guys. There's no getting away from that. Arguably, the most winnable game so far is Norwich away. We're a newly promoted side. We've hardly spent money. Yes, we've started the season well, but we're still beatable, right? So is there pressure on this Chelsea side to come to Carrow Road and really set a statement?
Pressure's probably the wrong... I think probably Lampard would, as he has been, I think, in terms of all his press conferences, he speaks so well, and I think he understands the expectation. Even though I've just made an answer saying I don't think the expectation level should be as high, I think Lampard's been very good at bigging up his players, bigging up his squad, understanding that and not hiding away from that. So I'm sure he'd expect to go to Norwich and get our first 3 points. We need the first 3 points because there's been a lot of good moments within games, 10 minutes here, 20 minutes there. We've hit the post, we've hit the crossbar. But now it's about a complete performance, or at least close to a complete performance where 3 points are on the board. Maybe it hushes some of the outside hyperbole from the media, who naturally will come on to and sort of put pressure on Chelsea naturally, because we are Chelsea at the end of the day. I think I'd be a hypocrite if I just give the answer I just gave to you and then turn around and go, he has to win this Saturday. But of course we are Chelsea, so on a going up against a championship side, I would most of the time, 9 times out of 10, expect us to beat Norwich, even if it is a close game, as I'm sure we'll come on to with Norwich and your form this season. But I expect us to win, but I'm not going to be, once again, ranting and raving after if it doesn't go well. I think, once again, maybe I'm saying my expectations too low, but I think you just have to understand what Lampard is up against this season in terms of hurdles. And I know you would probably say, as a Norwich fan, we barely spent anything, we're small, but I do think there has to be that taken into consideration. But I do think we can win. For
sure. You're one of the few Premier League sides this season that saw Norwich City play last season. Of course, we had them 2 games in the FA Cup, which in normal time both ended in draws. So how impressed have you been with Daniel Farke, with Stuart Webber, with the promotion and the first 2 games you've seen Norwich City competing in the Premier League this season?
I just have to correct you there, because I think it was Antonio Conte. It was season before last. Sorry, no, I've got those dates stuck in my mind. So I remember it was Antonio Conte. That was when Drinkwater and Bakayoko were starting for us.
Sorry. Time flies.
Yeah, time does fly. No, I think about Farke, I've been very impressed. I think he, with Stuart Webber as well, who you interviewed, has clearly taken the side, and there's been a long-term project, something which I hope will be embedded within Chelsea. Something we should aspire to is really, you've got a sense of this is a longer-term project, and there have been down moments, there have been struggles for Farke, there has been moments where he could have been up against it and his job could have potentially been at risk. But I think because of the style he's trying to implement, which is a progressive, very modern, very attacking, easy on the eye type of style, which I think is very natural and actually I think will work and be a benefit to Norwich in the Premier League. I've been really impressed. It's a 4-2-3-1. You've brought in players from... Farke has clearly used his expertise within Germany to bring in players who have been forgotten, who have been maybe not given the chance, young players. I think that's what people forget as well about Norwich. It's still quite a young squad going into the Premier League. I was quite astonished looking at some of the faces on the opening day at Liverpool. You've got a young side there, and that is exciting for a Norwich fan. If you can keep the bulk of this team together, there's a chance to potentially, I don't want to put too much pressure on you guys, but potentially create something special there, because a lot of these players aren't even in their prime yet. So, and even if you do lose them, sell-on value for a club like Norwich is massive. So I think that I've been really impressed with Farke and the style. Some of the goals I saw last season from you guys was just was incredible for a Championship level, just really good football. And I think that's what's going to be a benefit to you in comparison to the teams you're going to be competing against to stay up. So I think Farkery is a great addition to the league, and I think Norwich style of play is going to be a great addition to the league.
No, much respect for your very educated opinion on Norwich. I know you know a lot about them. Really quick fire then, mate. Score prediction for Saturday.
I'm going to go, I think, let's go 2-1, I think.
2-1 Norwich?
No, 2-1 Chelsea. Come on. I've still, even though I've been complimentary, I've still got to go for my own team here. It's like, I think it'll be a close game. I think Chelsea, we're still going to have those moments within games where we have lapses. I think it's all about taking our chances. I think there will be a moment in the game, whether that's at the start or whatever period it is, we've got to take our chances when we create them, whether that's through Pulisic, Mount, whoever he starts up front. It's sort of hard to know at the moment, whether it's Tammy or it's Giroud. I think that it'd be brilliant to get our first win on the board. And I think, for Norwich, you can't really get past Pukki scoring at the moment. That's a pretty good bet. And I think he'll be way up for it, and I think you will give us problems. So I think it will be a close game, whether that's us going 2-0 and you pulling one back, or however, I think it will be an entertaining game for sure, because I think both teams want to attack, and Norwich aren't going to sit back and just defend on your 6-yard box. You've proven that already this season. So I think it can be an entertaining game. So I'm going to go for a Chelsea win, 2-1, and hopefully Lampard getting his first win of the season.
All right then, mate. We'll agree to disagree. Thanks so much for coming on to Talk Norwich City to preview the big game, Norwich versus Chelsea this Saturday. Head over to Dan's channel, Son of Chelsea, for a rational perspective to an irrational sport. It's a great channel. Head over there. Links will be in the description, and I will see you at Carrow Road for the early kickoff on Saturday. Bye-bye.